Morning, sir. Really nice. Cool too. Yes, it's really, really nice. Wow, what's over? All right, we'll talk. Follow me.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2.
why you're not a top performer. I like that. That's Oh, I thought you were pointing to the guy on the screen. He looked like him, like maybe when he was younger. So how you guys doing this morning?
Doing good.
Yeah? All right. What's up, Lee? You ready for a good week? Kevin, Leon, Mark, Tommy, Jerry, Billy, JD. All right. So let's talk about why you're not a top performer. You know, that sounds like a negative title. You know, I wanted to get somebody's attention, you know, not only in Serial Sales Academy, when someone watches this, maybe they're having a, you know, having a month and the title stands out, or maybe somebody on Facebook Live, we're airing this today, sees this. But really, guys, what I wanted to do is get your attention. And some of you guys might say, you know, I know you had a great month last month, Lee. You're tracking a really great month this month. You flashed an incredible, you know, amount this week. So you go always thinking, yeah, I kind of feel like a top performer right now. You know, so I don't really know if this is for me. You know, or this is going to be probably the lesson that I get the least out of. I would encourage you, whether you're having a great month or a bad month or somewhere in between, to take feverish notes. Because I'm going to talk to you guys and give 5 or 6 quick things in the next 25 minutes on why you're not a top performer. And if you're having a great month, I'm gonna encourage you to look at these objectively. You might have, one of my favorite books is The 5 Temptations of a CEO. Has nothing to do with sales, but I use this book a lot in reference. I read it probably in 2006. I've read it since then several times, and the reason I like it is it's not I'm not advocating the book or in any way, shape, or form, or I am. I'm not even talking about the book from a standpoint of content. There's just 5 things that it talks about. The reason I like it and I'm equating it to this lesson and this day is because in there were 5 temptations. I only struggled with 2 of them. And when I say temptations, I'm not talking about, temptations of our body or our mind. I'm talking about temptations of leadership. And I struggle with 2 of them. So when I read through it and I got through the first 2 and I didn't struggle with them, I'm like, this book is, I'm doing that already. Right? But then I got into the 3rd and I said, wow, I struggle with that. And then later on in the book, it talked about, that most people don't struggle with all 5. If you struggle with all 5, you might want to quit, right? You'd be like, this isn't for you. You struggle with every one of them, it's over, right? So I'm going to tell you that if you write these down, you may get the first couple of them and you may go, yeah, I'm doing that. That's why I'm having a good month. I'm doing that. That's why I'm in sales. I've already been doing that, for 5 years. Yeah, okay, tell me something new. In sales, I've found there's nothing new. There's just the old that we have stopped doing. There's the things that were effective when we first began to be effective that we just stopped. There's the things maybe that we haven't really thought about, or something that we brushed over early in our career because talent kind of stood out. So why you're not a top performer. So let me start number 1. Ready? Average performers. I'm gonna put the comparison to average performers versus top performers. Okay, I do this a lot because I think that's let me just say this, guys. I think that talent is absolutely so far down the line when you separate average and top performers. I think, look, here's the deal. Unless you just completely, absolutely suck as a sales manager, as a CEO, as a leader, or as a person responsible for putting together any sales team, and you completely suck, right? You have hired and recognized talented people. Would you guys agree with that? I mean, would you agree that if you're in sales, if you get into it, if you try it, if you think you can make any money at it and you're having any sort of success, you're probably talented, right? I mean, I'm not going to step on the NFL field because I'm not able to. I would be demolished, killed. I mean, you name it. I mean, it would just be a complete disaster. It would be funny for people to watch, but I wouldn't do it because there's no talent there. But if I had the ability, right? If I had the ability, Tommy can remember this. A few years ago, we played for several years. It was actually at River of Life. We played flag football tournament for about 3 years in a row. And I don't know if you guys watching. Me, it's very deceiving. I am, maybe I'm not like 300 pounds, but I'm certainly not, like working out every day. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that. But you've seen our sales team and some of the people that work here. I mean, in offensive line, yes. But not like receivers and quarterbacks and defensive backs and things like that. We're of the bigger side, right? And so we try to play and hang with these teams. And I'm gonna tell you guys, for those of you that are watching, we beat the crap out of this one like middle school team. I mean, like they're like 12-year-old kids. And let me tell you something. We were like, yeah, you take that, little punk, But we got to the game where we played against some, early 20s, 20, 22, 23, 24-year-old, people, right? And one guy was freaking it was literally like Flash from the Avengers, right? Or whatever. Is that the right? Avenger was playing in his body. This kid was the single fastest human being that I've ever stood close to. And here's the crazy part. I mean, I'm talking like before you could even get the ball back and raise your hand to throw it, he had your flag, right? I mean, and I tried to like move one of our offensive linemen right over, and he goes, "Oh, you're going to try to move somebody over to kind of get in my way." He lined up like 10 yards over and still got to me before I can raise my hand. The fastest literal human being that I've ever seen, me personally. And you know what? He had just come to find out. I mean, soaking wet. This kid was a $150. Easy. Soaking wet. He just came from the NFL Combine the week before, but didn't make it. So where am I going with this? I'm going to say that if you're in sales, you're talented. This kid was talented, but he's not in the NFL, right? So if you're in sales, you're talented. If you're not, you have no business being in sales. But talent is not the number one thing that separates the top performers from the average. I said all of that, told all of that story to tell you guys that top performers and average performers are not separated mostly by talent. It's not. If you're competing with, if you're a talented sales professional and you're competing with, just completely untalented, that's like beating up on the 12-year-olds. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't count, right? So average performers, number one, don't plan. Top performers plan their presentations. I know this isn't revelatory. I know this isn't something, but I want you to really hear this for a second. Average performers, they may know it. So if you're sitting there watching this, you go, yeah, okay, tell me something I haven't heard. No, I'm going to tell you something you have heard. Because average performers are already talented, and they may have already heard it. I didn't say they don't know they're supposed to plan. I didn't say they don't know about planning. They do not plan. And top performers plan their presentation. Top performers acknowledge the Murphy's Law, right? And they plan for every contingency, everything. I'm going to plan for what if this. I'm going to plan for what if the call goes this way? What if that decision maker begins to go this direction? What if this question's asked? What if I get rejected up front? What if there's a budget issue? Okay, so way before they physically check the space to be used for the presentation, I believe the top performers have outlined their presentation, made notes throughout, and prepared their resources to be in sync with the customer they're talking to. I'm going to say it again. They've made notes. They've prepared. They've looked into. They're writing it down. They're thinking about it. They're paying attention to it. They're aware of it way before they ever get into the presentation. I mean, am I going to, if you're face to face, or we're over the phone here, but am I going to use a flip chart? Am I going to use a whiteboard? Do I have my Zoom, my go-to meeting ready? Do I have it prepared? Do I have all the slides and decks I'm going to show them? Do I have my walk around down pat? Do I know the product? One of the last vehicles my wife and I bought for my son within the last year, it was the worst. I mean, honestly, it wasn't her fault because it was completely in a training, we need to call them probably, but I'll tell you guys after who it was, but it was the worst scenario, worst case situation. Super, super sweet person. I felt bad for her. Had been in the business like 3 years. I thought it was her first week. Didn't know the product, didn't know anything. Thank God I'm in the business because I knew what I wanted. Didn't understand anything. And so I'm going to tell you that, do you know your product, right? And then do you plan? Average performers don't plan. Top performers plan their presentation. Average performers, listen, have no plan, and they have a tendency to wing it. So again, now, this is where I'm going to go. Talented people are average as well. Let me say it this way. Average people are talented as well. Talent has talent is a minimum requirement to get into the game. If you're not talented, man, you have no business being in it. So average performers have no plan and they wing it. I believe that gunslingers are important. I believe that ability to wing it is important. I believe that you can mix that in your arsenal. I believe that you should be able to pull out of your sales weapon arsenal at all times, the ability to wing it. Don't get me wrong. I think that's a must. But if that's what you're celebrating, man, you hear what I said there? Did you hear how I closed that joker? Did you hear how I turned it? If that's what you're relying on, that's not a sales pro, man. That's not a sales pro. Repeat that 100 times and make your living. Make your $1 million a year off of that. Make the money you want to make off of doing that. It's never happened that way. It never will. You understand what I'm saying? So average performers, they don't plan, they wing it. I wonder if this is because of self-confidence issues. I wonder if they know what to do as an average performer or if they don't know what to do. I wonder what it really comes down to. I believe this, the huge difference between the two groups, professionals, top performers, and average performers, is mindset. In the definition of mindset, and we have a whole section in the Academy, guys, for mindset. If you're watching this and you're on the Academy, move over to the mindset section. It's an established set of attitudes held by someone. It's already established. It's already there. It's already set in stone, meaning that you can't move me from it, right? It's my mind set. I'm set in my mind. It's not based on how well my last 5 calls went. It's not based on how well, my last campaigns went or how satisfied my last 5 customers are. Those are all fruits of it. And I believe that those fruits will ultimately grow and you have more good fruit than you will have negative. But you can't, it's not predicated on that, right? It's a mindset. My mind is set, period, right? And I'm a top performer. Top performers have always prepared themselves. And they understand without formal training, they understand that without formal training and without maybe having that life experience, they are not going to be competitive in today's market, especially if they don't plan. So if you rely on your instinct only, if you rely on winging it, that doesn't make you a top performer. All right. Second one is average performers look for quick hits, while top performers focus on strategy, on strategic sales. Strategy is important to define, guys, as it relates to the big picture. Without a solid, well-planned strategy that covers all the bases, you'll lose sight where you are on a day-to-day basis. You lose sight of your objective. You lose sight of where you're going. Strategy. So average performers, they look for quick hits. It's all about how much money I can make today and tomorrow. Again, I get that. And I think that as salespeople that are talented, that's built into us. Okay, so let me just tell you this way. If average to top performers is not predicated on talent, and there's talented people who are average, and there's top performers who are talented, right? I think you have to be talented no matter what. So if that doesn't turn anybody really on, if that's not what it's really about, those are the gifts, right? Those are the things that ring the bells and the whistles and make everybody take notice at first. But how many times in your life, in all spectrums, I don't care if it's sales, politics, I don't care if it's ministry, I don't care if it's in business, right? Have you seen a top performer and you hear stuff like, man, let me tell you something. They had all the potential in the world. They had all the ability, and I say this a long time ago. There was a quote that I've said in one of the meetings that we coined here. It said, talent won't cut it and potential don't matter. And it was said that way. Grammatically, slang, whatever. Right? Talent won't cut it. Potential don't matter. You got to get up. You got to get dressed. And you got to get in the game. Meaning it doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how much potential. Right? Graveyard's full of potential that was never unlocked. Right? It's full of talent that was never, ever witnessed. So I'm going to say, and you know what? I would imagine there's people holding signs up, we'll work for food, that are extremely talented. Extremely talented. So average performers, they look for quick hits. Top performers focus on strategy. See, that's the thing. You got to take that. You got to take that thing that's innate on the inside of you as a top performer, as a person who's talented, and you got to begin to hone it in. You got to develop a strategy. A strategy is where it's at. Strategy is all about planning, and we all know. Listen, you've all heard this cliche, this tried and true, right? Fail to plan, plan to fail. Fail to plan to fail. So if you don't plan, you'll fail, right? If you fail to plan, you might as well go ahead and plan to fail. So without a well thought out plan, right, and without the contingencies, without what happens here, it's not going to just go as I plan. Meaning, there's going to be some bumps in the road. There's going to be some things that happen, right? And I got to be aware of that. I've got to be ready for that. I've got to expect that, right? The chance of reaching our objectives is weakened. And it opens the door for less than stellar or average performers. Average performers think in different terms. They don't think strategically, right? They think about the quick hits. They think about the glory of the instant money. Instant money. You heard him say. In other words, there's really no instant money. I mean, here's my question. I mean, seriously. And I hear this so much, and I understand it because I'm built this way. If I were undisciplined, I would go this route myself. I've been this route, and I have to keep myself completely wound up, tight, and guarded, and focus on it, or I would go this route naturally. So the quick hits and the instant money, I get it. But let me ask you a question. Who watching this and who in here has ever had the ability, and I think everybody's going to be going yes, unless an accountant stumbled on to this, or maybe, somebody that's, I don't know, somebody that can't sell, anything. But if you're in sales at all, how many have ever had the ability, right, to get some instant money? Who's ever done that? Raise your hand. Okay, raise your hand if you're watching, just for your sake. Just look around and be like, if you're in the middle of somewhere. Okay, all of us have. So are you happy with the money you're making? Are you satisfied with the growth that you're experiencing right now? Are you okay with it? Because I would say no. I'm not saying you're not grateful or thankful or having a good month or having a good year or on your way. But if you're not where you want to be or where you think you're going to be, I would say that the instant money is not the answer. Unless you hit the instant lottery money. And I think that if you have the wrong mentality, you'll lose it all anyway. Okay, so fail to plan to fail. Average thinkers or average performers think differently. They want the instant money. They want the quick hits. Their view, right, is it looks good today, right, and then I'm going after it with little thought of tomorrow. They don't want to rock the boat. Average performers have no plan. Their plan is this: make today happen and worry about tomorrow when it gets here. I want to be very careful. I want to digress. I want to stop and I want to back up for a second, and I want to say there's an element of that you need in sales. It's the clean slate mentality. It's if I had a bad day, I've got to be able to reset and come back in tomorrow. If I had there's an element of that, but we can't live there.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that again because I think that's what you have to. There's an element of talent. There's an element of quick hits and gunslinger, but you can't live there. There's an element of, hey, there's an element of I'm going to worry about it when it gets here and I'm going to go after today that you have to have, but you can't live there. You can't make a doctrine out of it. You can't get to the top performer status by thinking that way and that way only. It just won't happen. If it did happen, there'd be tons of top performers. I mean, I'm talking like millions and millions and millions, and it would be the majority, not the minority. It would be a club that everybody's in. It wouldn't be special. You understand? It is special because it takes more than talent. Talent will work for food. Talent, hey, how would you like your burger? Right? I'm talking about talent that is disciplined, right? That does what it takes, that strategizes, that goes from average to top. You guys get it? They rock the boat. They're not just going to make it happen today, worry about tomorrow when it gets here. They see the value of a business plan. They see the value of a strategy. They see the value. Listen to this. Top performers use strategies based on their customer. You want to know what to hone your strategy in? Hone it based on your customer. Based on, you guys, Harvard Business School, I say this all the time, but you got to get it because if you don't get it, you rely on number 3, which is they like me. Number 3 reason someone buys from someone, they like me, right? But I want to know the number 1 and 2. Number 1 reason anyone buys anything from anyone is because you as a salesperson know your customer's product. The number 2 reason you as a salesperson know your product. And that is, to me, that's as easy as pie, right? A and B. Okay, wait a second. I know them and I know me. Boom. If I connect those two, will this help their objective? Yes, I got a sale. Now, let me figure out how to convince them that this is an answer because I understand their need. I understand their problem. I understand their objective, right? And I have a solution. You get it? If it does that, then there's no sale, right? If I'm like, I don't understand them. I know my product, but I don't even care. I'm just going for today. I'm like, where is an opportunity? Oh, I think I touched something, right? I'm talking boom, man. You get it? I'm talking got to know them and got to know you. The two go together. So a strategy is important. Top performers make that strategy based on the customer. Average performers use the same strategy on everything they do. Every call, every customer, every marketing campaign. They don't take into account how fragmented the market is. They don't take into account how saturated. They don't take into account, in a specific area. They don't take into account. They forget the basic rule that should apply, right, to everything we do, and that is treat others as you want to be treated. That's the golden rule, isn't it? That's in the Bible. But see, they forget that. And the reality is one size fits all. Do you want to be lumped into a set of demographics, or do you want to have the marketing, the call, the sales pitch, the process treat you as an individual? Right? All right. Average performers ask questions that lack focus. And top performers ask questions with an impact. Top performers understand the role of the seller in questioning the buyer with open-ended questions that are going to yield information to be used in positioning the product and its benefits. So you understand this as a seller. Get this now. You understand as a seller, which is what you are. You understand as a seller the role of a seller by questioning the buyer. You understand your role. Your role is not to just shove something down someone's throat. Your role is not to just hem-haul somebody, man, pin somebody, put someone to sleep. Oh man, I didn't, I put that customer into a sleeper hold. You see that close? Man, that's not what sales is. I get it, man. I get it, but we're celebrating the wrong thing. So the deal is top performers, they ask questions with impact. You got to understand as the seller when you question the buyer, and you got to place open-ended questions that are going to yield information that you can use. And then you got to have have this. So this right here, this is not just to be used, sorry, this isn't to be used, guys, just when you're in a meeting like this. Have 75 of these stacked up because you should be using them on every call, and you should write it on the top. I'm talking to ABC Widget Company, and you start taking notes. When they say something, you write it down. If it's not pertinent for the call that you're on, it may be pertinent for the follow-up call, but you got to remember, and I don't care how good you are, you're not going to remember everything. You're not going to utilize your CRM like you should necessarily. So man, put it down on paper, the hot buttons, so that you can use the best tool that you have, and that is the information they give you at on the call. So top performers use that information, right? Listen, it said the best salespeople spend only, listen to this, 20% of their time speaking, as the other 80% is used to listen. The best salespeople. So let me ask you, if you're not listening 80% of the time and you're talking more than 20% of the time, then that may be the difference between you becoming average or top. And I know it's hard to do because I've always been taught, you know, by some people that I've listened to, or I've always been, I guess it's always been modeled, right? If you sometimes you see some of the top performers or people in the marketplace out there, and they're talking, and they say that they act like talking means control. No, listening means control. If you can listen, I promise you, you are in control, and you're in a type of control that the reason most people don't do it is because they don't know how. They don't feel like they can shepherd that. They don't feel like they can steward that. You get it? In other words, I don't know what to do with this. I'm not talking. I'm freaking out. I'm gonna say that if you're not talking and you're listening, you are in complete and total control. You get it? And that's a place that if you can get to, you're talking about top performer, you're talking about owning it, you're talking about doing something that's unique and different, you're talking about someone wanting to watch you and mentor and follow you and learn from you. That's it right there. Because that's an art. It's an art, it's a gift, it's a talent that has to be created, right? Or has to be developed. But average performers ask questions that lack focus. It's just banter. It's goofy. It's downright goofy sometimes. I can't tell you how many salespeople bully the buyer. They come back to find that their product, you know, didn't work because there was never any understanding. There was never any, you know, real teeth in it. They just bullied the buyer, and I get it. I get it. We're in an industry in sales. We're in an industry, a broad industry, but all sales is designed to what? It's designed to drive revenue, right? It's designed. I mean, you have quotas. I get it. But I mean, and I understand. But the reality is, it's the top sales performers, I mean, the top ones. I'm talking about the guys that you want to be like, the ones that you look at and go, man, you know, and the secret that a lot of them don't tell you, because it doesn't translate on things like this well. It's not the bells and whistles. It's not the, hey, close everybody you run into. You know, oh, learn how to do your elevator pitch and all that. And that's great. But the reality is the top ones know how to retain business. And the way you retain business is you have to have business, and you have to take that business. You have to listen to them, and you have to have the right fit from the beginning. And you know what? It may take longer up front, but the reality is down the road, that's how you sustain a lifestyle and get to the top performer status. Yeah, I wish that I could say to you, it's about closing everybody you run into. That's just not realistic. You know, what it is about closing people one time and doing business with them 10 years later because you closed them. One of my longtime clients that I've done millions of dollars in business with. One person started in 2006. We've done millions of dollars in business. Even to this day, we're working out deals with this person's organization, and they're literally involved in a publicly traded company right now, and I won't say who they are. But when they started out, they ran one particular little store in Memphis, and we started out in 2004. So it's been, my God, it's been 14 years. Is that 14 years? Almost 14 years ago. And let me tell you that one thing he told me about a year and a half into it, because I'm a salesperson, and I was still learning. 14 years ago, I'm still learning this stuff, right? I'm 45, so I was 31 years old. I was still learning this. I'm still learning it now, but I was really learning it. Okay, and I started kind of going in, and he goes, whoa. Hey, stop selling me. You've already sold me. Talk to me. Wow. It was really cool that you have a client that cares about you that much and sees and had a little more experience than you did to say, hey, wait a second, stop selling me. You've already sold me. Talk to me. You get it? See, that's the reality of how you really become a top performer. You have a few of those people. You sold them, But now you're consulting. And I'm going to tell you something. That's what a top performer does. Average performers, they lack the focus when they're asking questions. They don't even think that way. You guys hear me talk about we're not a tourist, right? In a space as a salesperson all the time. I talk about this. You know, and the reality is you're not a tour guide. That's not what your role is. So I believe the social banter and all the questions that don't have any teeth need to go out the window. And then we need to be somebody who is a consultant who sits down and gets into the heart. You can sell anybody, right, something you believe in and are already sold on yourself. And you can sell anybody once you get inside their need. That's something you might want to write down as a salesperson. You can sell anybody, anything, once you get inside their need. You're not a tour guide. You're not a tour guide. Average performers talk. We're almost done. We have a couple more here. Average performers talk about features. Top performers talk about benefits. And they only bring features in if necessary to expand the subject. You have to so understand your customer's goal and objective and understand your product and how they connect that you don't sit there and feature dump. We talk about this a lot, but you benefit dump. You talk about benefits. Average performers talk about features because here's why. They understand their product. Again, you understand as an average performer, you're talented enough to understand your product, but you don't take the time to understand the customers to find out if there's a fit. And there always typically is a fit if you're calling on the right, list and you have and you have the ability to prospect properly, and we have the ability to put people in front of you here at our company, and hopefully you do as well. And I believe that your product can be for most people, but you have to be able to find out, is there a fit? But more importantly, where does it fit? How does it fit? And that takes some investigation. That takes research. And so top performers, they benefit dump, where average performers talk about the features. And the reason they feature dump is because they understand their product and they don't take the time to understand their prospective customer. And so when you don't understand who you're dealing with, you have no ability to do anything else other than feature dump, because you really don't understand and haven't taken the time, and it's so shallow that you have not gotten to the place where you're even able to talk about the benefits, because you don't know how it's going to benefit them, because you don't know them. You don't know their needs. And you go, yeah, but I understand perfunctory knowledge of who they are and what their industry is. And I got around. Yeah, but that's not who they are. And they don't give a crap about everybody else in their industry. They care about them and their needs. And here's the thing. Although their needs may be similar to someone else's, to them, they're unique. Do you get it? They don't get up every morning and go, you know what? Every other person that does what I do is experiencing the same issue. I feel better about it now. They go, I have this issue. And if they do get around other people and colleagues and talk about it, yeah, I got that issue as well. Really, how are you dealing with it? They immediately want to go to how can I deal with it? So average performers, right, talk about features, and then top performers talk about benefits. Benefits, guys, you know this, right? The old acronym, what's in it for me? That's what benefits does. It talks about what's in it for the customer, which is really all they care about. What's in it for me? The problem is most average performers get it backward, and they take that acronym, what's in it for me, and they apply it to every call. What's in it for me? And my rent needs to be paid. I need to make some more money. I need to hit my goal. I need to hit my bonus. I need to make some cake. I need to close some deals. I need to hit my quota. Me. And look, you may be good enough where they don't understand when you're on the phone with them exactly what's going on, but it's not engaging, I can tell you that. And when something doesn't click and doesn't engage, you don't get the deal. It'll put you in a position that won't be beneficial for you. Average performers talk about features. They'll go through the whole laundry list of features that they've learned on their own, thinking that the more, the better, and how can you argue with feature after feature. The fallacy is that most people don't know that it's about the benefits. The fallacy is it's not about the coolness of a program. It's about solving the problem that exists by pointing out the benefits. The last one, average performers just end after the sale. Top performers end the call, the presentation, the meeting with a follow-up. So average performers, they just end. Top performers end it with a follow-up, which, by the way, is part of the overall strategy. I believe nothing upsets a potential buyer more than feeling that I was just sold something and there is no recourse. There is no plan. There is no what's next. There is no how do I implement it. It's like I was just dropped this hot potato in my lap and then, hey man, whoa, I gave you my money. How many times have you heard as an average but talented salesperson, I have a bunch of times, right, before I began moving from average to top performer, I was talented, don't get it mistaken, don't get average mistaken with not being a talented person. How many times have you heard as a talented but average salesperson, man, I gave you my money and I hadn't heard anything from you. I tell you what, you were wearing me out when you wanted to close that deal, but since then I haven't, you guys have been MIA. How many times have you heard that? Why? Because average salespeople end the call because they're in it for the short game. They're in it for what's in it for me. Top performers end it with follow-up. It's part of the strategy, guys. It's imperative that you have a solid system. Not only follow up on the sale, but offer this as part of your strategy. I believe this, prospective customers want to believe, they want to know that if something happens outside the normal range of circumstances, they can call you and get immediate relief. I believe that, we're in the same boat here. I mean, I know it's a fact that customer service, right, has gone down the drain overall, in general. You know what I mean? I mean, people, it's horrible. You can never stop. You want to write this down. You can never stop servicing the sale just made. As the first sale sets up, listen to this. You can never stop. You want to write this down. I'm almost done. 2 more minutes. You can never stop servicing the sale that was just made. Here's why. As the first sale sets up a whole cycle of reselling, this is what you want to write down. This is what the first sale sets up. A cycle of reselling, upselling, cross-selling. Training division, I want to point this out. I'm going to talk to you, but I'm also going to talk to the guys in this room here as well. Okay? Where you have the training division and then you have our marketing division here. You can never stop servicing the sale just made because the first sale sets up a whole cycle of reselling, re-upping, right? Reselling, upselling. There could be other products that you offer, even in the realm of marketing, other budgets, other things that you have, upselling. Cross-selling, which is basically some other division within your organization reaching across the aisle and going, hey, you're working with us here. I'd like to talk to you. I run this department. I'd like to talk to you about this. New selling and friend selling. Do you hear that? You can never stop servicing the sale that was just made. Gives you repeat business, increased upselling business, cross the aisle selling business, new business, and referral business. It's one basic rule, guys. One basic rule yields huge numbers if you can learn how to become a top performer versus average. It will yield huge numbers if it's properly addressed and set up from the very beginning that way. Average performers just end the sale. They never really had a handle on the sales strategy. They don't know the sales process. They don't really care about the sales steps. They're just leaving it to their natural abilities to close. Without a follow-up plan, the customer's left on their own to either receive a great experience with a new product they just purchased, or once they've realized they didn't need the product or didn't utilize the product properly, right? They just jump through hoops to get something done. Unfortunately, the majority of salespeople, listen, are average performers. Here's the deal. Here's what I'm ending it right here. Unfortunately, the majority of salespeople are average performers following the 20-80 rule, the Pareto principle, right? Which states that 20% of the salespeople are the top performers, 80% are the average performers. 20% are the top performers. It's not that it's hard to do. It takes discipline. All right? It can be stated the top performers are a lot less than the 20% number in my opinion, but let's just go off of that rule. But I'm gonna tell you that it can flip. The charts can flip. We can take this and you can flip the numbers. I'm all about doing this, okay? And I'm gonna make, at the end of this, I hope I inspired you guys. All right, I'm going to encourage you watching on Facebook. If you want real training, go to SerialSalesPro.com. Our sales academy, which this video is actually one of the series in there, it will change your world in sales if you apply it. If you don't, you might as well spend your money at Starbucks. But I'm going to tell you this, if you apply it, it'll knock it out of the park for you. All right? If you want to increase your sales, you got to train, but you got to apply the training. You got to hear real stuff like this. I want to go from average to top. I don't want to be average. 80%, guys. It's weird because, and I'm done. It's weird because the word average states this kind of in the middle, but isn't that funny how 80%? The reality is that most in sales are average. Most in sales are average. And the reason I can say 80% is because really, if you're not talented, you won't be in. You're not really in sales. I'm not counting people who can't do it. I'm talking about people who can. Out of the people who can, the 100% who can, who have the potential and the talent, need to develop it, unlock it, right? Discipline themselves to do it. Those people, 80% of those are average. And you can still make money at average, but imagine what you could do at top. All right? All right, let's knock this thing out of the park. Facebook, man, have a great week. It's the middle of the first month of the year. You have no excuse to not hit your goals. Hit your goals this year. This month is when it starts. I believe this. This is 1/12. Right? If my goal for the year that I launched out two weeks ago, right, whatever that is, I'm halfway through the 1/12. I'm halfway through the first month. This 1/12. I've got. You want to finish strong. You got to strike fast.
Let's go.
Strike fast. All right. Have a good one, guys.